What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down Tyler Johnson and his route running. We're going to be talking about how to run a slant versus press, how you can use rocket steps to create some separation, and then how to run a goal line fade and a release you could use for that, okay? And guys, if you're a receiver and you want to get faster, you want to be a more explosive athlete, have more burst into your routes, and create more explosion at the top of your routes, check out that link in the description that says Speed Workout Plan, full 28-day plan to focus on you guys getting explosive, getting you guys a little bit more faster, so you could be a better receiver on the field and just a better overall athlete. Hope to get you guys signed up on that soon. Let's get started. So first things first, we're going to be looking at this kind of hesitation diamond release, okay? So if you're new to this channel or new to this video, or maybe just don't remember what a diamond release is, it's 3 hard steps to the outside to really focus on this DB getting his hips to turn so I can break back underneath. Now, here's the thing. I don't like this release because it's a 3-step release in any other situation but this slant, okay? Because it's got to be quick. We got to really sell this thing with my upper half, and then I got to go. And already on this release, you see how this quarterback kind of has to catch, then hang for a second. But he understands that, okay? Quarterbacks, if any quarterback's looking at this, you guys got to understand that if he's against man coverage, let's hang on that back leg. Let's catch. Let's not just hit the back leg and throw right away, right? That's the problem that a lot of quarterbacks have. They just try to rush this thing and get it out of our hands. Let's be calm. Let's hang on that back leg. Let's let the play develop, and then I get him the ball, right? So that's exactly what we do. Obviously, we don't want to take too long out here, but because there's an extent to where the quarterback's going to be getting too much pressure. But in this situation, not getting a heavy pass rush, I could maybe work this release a little bit. So you see how he's here. He gives this little hesitation to the outside. Now, all he's trying to do is sell vertical here. He gives a little hesitation, maybe tries to get him to match his tempo, goes from 0 to 100, and he kicks upfield, and you see his shoulders are committed to the break, hips are committed to the break. Now look what this does to the DB. That gets his hips committed on this break, right? Because if I'm bursting up here and I'm really selling like I'm running a fade, I could come off. You see how he hesitates. The thing is 1, 2, 3. And you see how they're full steps. They're not baby steps. They're not choppy steps. It's what a lot of people do. There are 2 mistakes that people make on a diamond release. Rather than going 3 steps and breaking it off, they go 1, 2, 3. And they're quick choppy steps. Now if I take choppy steps, especially if I'm not going upfield, especially if maybe I'm flat here, DB's just going to shuffle with me, get hands, and just completely debunk the whole thing. And then another mistake people will do is they'll burst off here. They'll go like this. They'll go 1, and then that 2, 3 stops them down. So it's like a 2-step break. They go 1, 2, 3, and it's 2 steps, and they kind of jump into this thing. You want to be full 3 steps. Like you run a normal 3-step slant, you're cutting off the outside leg. 1, 2, 3, but it's on like a 45-degree angle to the outside because that's what'll get this DB's hip to turn. And if we're not running, he doesn't believe fade. Nobody runs a fade with choppy steps, right? You don't come off the line and for 5 yards you try to be as choppy as possible. You actually run. You actually commit your hips to it. You actually get your eyes over there. DB shouldn't be looking at your eyes anyways, but that certainly helps in terms of your body language turning to the outside. Then he breaks it off. DB's got his hips turned. He doesn't have hands. Now, if he were to get hands, let's say he were to get hands right here, what are we going to do? All we know is we got to beat his inside arm, right? So if he's an extended hand, let's just swat his elbow by. If he's really trying to get physical with us, really try to get hands, let's swat him by at the back of his shoulder. That's how we create separation. In this case, he doesn't have hands, so let's just make sure I accelerate out. Now, what a DB is going to do, especially if you swat him by here, if he speed turns out of this break, we got to make sure that I'm doing my job of pumping my arms and accelerating off that 3rd step. And you see Johnson does a great job of that. He breaks off of here, runs those arms, and accelerates. That's a great job, great route here. Let's watch this thing full speed again. So a little hesitate, 1, 2, 3, break it off, get his hips to turn, great route. So now we're going to be looking at these rocket steps right here. Same kind of concept, just a slant in the red zone here, one-on-one situation. So what we want to do here is this is like an off-man look, right? So what do we want to do? We want to close the gap with this guy. I want to attack his midline to either get him on his heels backpedaling, maybe keeping his leverage, he's a little inside leverage, or to get him to sit flat, right? So what does he do? He comes off here kind of quick and he attacks his leverage, 1, 2, right? And now this DB already has opened up his gate. And now we're going to, in the next clip, you're going to see why he opened up the gate. Because Johnson is such a goal line fade threat, right? So why not play the fade? Let's from a DB's perspective, right? This guy, we know they like throwing this goal line fade. He probably should have done a better job knowing where he's at on the field, right? Because they're the sideline here, right? So it's like they're not running this thing to the field. It's to the boundary. They're to the boundary here, right? So we're probably, if I'm a quarterback, I don't necessarily like throwing a goal line fade when, we're to the boundary. I like throwing a goal line fade probably to the field because there's more room to miss, and you could just give a move to the inside and throw it to that back corner and run, but that's a personal preference, right? So I think DB could maybe know maybe know the situation a little bit better, right? I mean, again, I don't know what they've been hitting throughout the whole entire game. Maybe they've been throwing this a lot. Maybe they've seen this a lot on film, so that's why the DB's playing it like this. But again, it sets up what we're trying to do here, right? You see it all the time, and in the next clip here, let's show the next clip. I should have shown this clip first, just to give you guys an idea. We'll break it down later. But you see how he comes off here and kind of gives his chatter, gives him a move, and then breaks to the outside, right? So it's kind of the same idea. He closes the gap. He gives him this little chatter, but he goes 1-2 to the outside, and he throws his upper half like he's going to be selling vertical, and that's what gets that DB to jump, right? It's all about setting this thing up. It's all about you have tendencies, right? That's something that your coaches talk a lot about when they're studying film of a team. Oh, these guys' tendencies are this, and that. Well, receivers got tendencies too. Same with DBs. Same with really everybody on the field. You got your own personal tendencies, and then you got team tendencies. His tendency is to come off, give a little hesitation move, then give an out-in move, and then go back to the back of this corner and we throw him a go ball, right? So now I make it all look the same. That's important to make it look the same. I make it look the same off the line, give him a little chatter, 1-2. I throw my upper half to the outside, get this DB biting, and then what do? I make sure I accelerate out. You get him to lean, you get him to turn his hips. You got to make sure that you keep that separation, and how you keep that separation is by driving off of that break leg, pushing off the inside arch, and then ripping my arms through this thing and really running to continue to get space from this guy. We got to continue to win that race back to the ball. This is a great route. They call it rocket steps, right? Rocket steps is where you kind of give that quick chatter, and then you give a move. You come off, close the gap, step on his toes, throw your upper half, and then catch this thing. Let's watch it full speed again one more time. Great route here by Johnson. So fast hands, 1-2. Get him to shoot to the outside, then accelerate over the middle. All right, so now we kind of already saw this clip, but we're going to break it down. It's very similar to what I'm talking about in the last clip. So now, DB's inside shade, right? So what do I want to do here? There's a couple of different things that you could do. This is kind of more so like, I wouldn't call this a squirt release. If he's way far inside, you would consider it like a squirt release where you just kind of squirt out here and attack his midline, right? That's what they call it. Don't ask me why they call it that, but that's the name that I've heard to be called that. All you really want to do, head up, inside leverage. What we were talking about this in the last clip. I want to attack his midline to get him either backpedaling, get him to keep his leverage to the inside, or to get him to stand flat-footed, right? So what do? I attack his leverage, and he kind of sits flat-footed, right? You're not supposed to backpedal in the end zone, so we could probably assume that, right? So we come up here, attack his leverage. You see a little quick feet, rocket steps, and now he gives a 1-2 to the inside, right? And you see how he's left, right. And his upper half's here. He's throwing his upper half. He's very sudden with his upper half. That's what'll get this DB to freeze, right? Because it goes both ways, right? Let's say he comes off, first play of the game, or maybe this is early in the season. He comes off, does some rocket steps, and then goes in, out, and then he runs a slant, right? So now I come back, do some rocket steps. I go out, in, and I really sell like I'm going to the slant with my upper half. Get this DB to freeze for a second. I know I just got to beat his outside arm because I want to take an outside release, swat his arms off, and now look, this is a very, very bad position for that DB to be in because you got a tall, physical guy who could go up and make this play, right? So now the ball's in the air here. We're going to talk about a jump ball. That's just a release you could use. Attack his leverage, give him a 1-2. You want to make that slant release and that fade release look the exact same. That's what's going to get you space. That's how guys just can't prepare for you on the film because they're like, well, he could do this and he could do that. And then you maybe hit him with another release you have for a slant. They can't prepare for that, guys. When you have 5 different ways to run one route and they're all timed up correctly, they all time up correctly with the play and they're efficient, and then you could build other routes off of it, that's a very, very hard thing to prepare for, right? So that's why you watch maybe these clips, you take notes. Hey, I could do this. Hey, I could do this when I run this route. That route's similar to what I run in my playbook. And then you just build off of that and kind of create an arsenal for yourself to where you're preparing for a game every week and you're watching film of a guy and you're like, hey, listen, I know he's weak here. He likes to play me inside leverage here. This release could work. Do I like this release because I'm the first read? Now you got to get it out quick, and the quarterback's got to get it out quick. You got to start thinking like a second quarterback or an OC on the field because that's how you structure the way you play off the line and the way you just play the overall game. Now, when it comes to a jump ball, fellas, when we go up for this thing, we want to make sure that I go up strong. Because, again, it's just a battle for that ball up there, so that's an obvious. That's a given. Go up strong. Now, how I protect this ball is I want to pull away from the DB, and I want to be violent to the tuck. You see how he's here? He's violent to that tuck. Let's go up strong, bring the ball violent to the tuck. That's the way to do it on a jump ball. You catch it up top, highest point. Everybody loves to say that, right? It's day one stuff. But you want to be strong with your hands. You want to make sure your eyes watch it in. You pull that away from the DB. You're violent to the tuck with the ball. Get your feet down, and then get out. That's a great job here by Johnson. It's great release, great overall technique. Here we go. Let's watch it full speed. So 1-2, setting up that slant, go up and attack that ball. Strong hands, pull it away, violent to the tuck. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you want to be a faster receiver, check out that link in the description, guys. We have a couple other different things that we're offering in the description if you want to check those out as well. And if you guys have any questions, please leave those in the comments. I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. I'll always try to answer everything that you guys leave in the comments, so I appreciate that, and I'll see you guys next time.